wow. Okay, wow, wow. Right. Here's the thing. That was worse. When you mentioned it, I thought, okay, this is going to be dreadful. That was worse than I thought it would be, which I didn't think was possible. That is astounding.
Anything is possible, Matt. She proved it.
Welcome, everybody, to A Very Special Relationship, the show between the US and the UK, Wayward Child and its divorced dad. My name is Matt Johnson. I host a show called The Interesting Times that looks at everything UK based. And all the way from the US of A is my co-host, Andrea Bridges-Smith, who hosts Phoenix News Network. Andrea, hello. Hoping your Easter
Hello.
went okay. What news from the new world?
Well, Matt, at the moment, things seem to be going better, which is a weird feeling after so long. But I do have some reasons to feel optimistic about the possibility, at least, of some better days ahead. So first of all, Trump is having a terrible time. That always cheers me up, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So his Truth Social platform went public last week, and after a few days of soaring stock prices, everything is crashing back to earth after they said in a financial disclosure, yeah, guys, funny story. We actually lost $58 million last year, and we only generated $4 million in revenue.
Wow.
Now, that little announcement caused the stock price to drop off a cliff, and also caused Trump to lose about $1 billion of his net worth in a single day. And then there's that pesky 175 million bond that he had to pay this week. The man is just absolutely bleeding cash right now, which is weird because he's so good at business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the what is the art of making money or something? The art of the deal. That was it.
Yes.
I'm always a little bit confused because you said it only made $4 million. I'm obviously sounding like a boomer here, but $4 million to me would sound like a lot of money for something like that. You know, if I built sort of a platform where people could talk to each other and somebody offered me 4 million, I take it. But I appreciate that against losing a billion or whatever, it isn't so good.
Well, I think the thing was, so they made $4 million from advertisers. And
Ah,
if you compare that to any other social media network, it's a tiny little drop in the bucket. And I think the 4 million that they made versus the 58 million that they lost, just math wise, not pretty.
it's not. It's not a good business model. No, not at all. Okay.
Yeah, not good business models is kind of his deal. So
There is a point, if you'll forgive me, where the money sort of becomes meaningless. I mean, if someone said to me, you've got to come up with 175 million pounds this week, I would sort of just give up on being worried. I mean, I couldn't even hope to get that. I am now going to do the mad why worry face. Here we go.
there you go. Good job. Good job. I can
Thank
tell
you.
you're a trained actor. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, what even is money after a certain point, right? It's too big. So anyways, that happened, but then there was also a development in Florida that could have some big implications for the November election.
Oh,
So the state Supreme Court there ruled that Florida could go ahead with a 6-week abortion ban, like the one that we have here in Texas. Ironically, because all the states around Florida, and up over to Texas have
hmm.
been imposing these really strict abortion bans. Florida's wasn't as strict, and so they had become like the abortion haven for the Southeast, which
Right.
boggles the mind. But anyway, that's over now. They're going to do a 6-week abortion ban. So
As we
the other
spoke about, ridiculous. Yes. Sorry.
exactly, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's extremely draconian.
Hmm.
But the good news is that that same Supreme Court said, but if you put a constitutional amendment on the ballot in November, that's okay. You can go ahead and do that.
Hmm.
So that's going to be on the ballot in Florida in November. Now, here is why that's a big deal. It's important to note that voters have protected abortion in every state where it has been on the ballot, like these constitutional amendments, since Roe versus Wade was overturned in 2022. We're talking even in the reddest states like Kansas
Hmm.
and Kentucky. It's also important to note that anytime abortion is on the ballot, that there is a bigger turnout for Democrats. We've seen that over and over again in the elections the past few years. Even among Republicans, abortion bans are unpopular. So the majority of Floridians do not support this 6-week abortion ban, and that's a pretty darn red state.
Yeah.
Biden's campaign manager said that this development could make Florida winnable for him in November. I think
Wow.
that's a bridge too far, but it's certainly going to cause difficulties for Donald Trump, which again makes me happy.
So you're saying that the upcoming election could be, in certain parts of the US, a single issue election, effectively.
Yes, especially in states where these abortion bans have passed and people are seeing the consequences of it and feeling the consequences of it. Because remember, Republicans get abortions too, like there's I
Right.
used to know somebody that worked in an abortion clinic, and the number of times that she treated women who said, I am against abortion, you wouldn't believe it.
I got to say that, well, that's some more good news. I mean, could I be greedy and ask for more?
Of course, there's always room for more good news. Matt, we have a hero, someone who is a defender of democracy, a shining example of democratic virtue, here to save America, and that hero is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay, interesting. Please enlighten me.
So she said that she is going to trigger a vote to remove Mike Johnson as House Speaker if he puts a bill for Ukraine aid on the floor, which he's planning to do later this month. And if she does this, we could have a repeat of last year's fiasco that ended up with Johnson being installed in the first place, which is just excellent optics for an election year. Just a party fighting with itself, completely unable to govern, refreshing our memories of all the times that this keeps happening, even though, people may have started to forget. It's like, yeah, no, bring it back up, do it again, remind everyone right in the middle of an election year. Great idea. Another possibility is that if she does trigger this vote, that we could end up with a Democrat as House Speaker. There is just no universe in which her triggering that vote goes well for Republicans. And so my optimism, much like the Easter Bunny, has risen once again and is now hiding pastel-colored eggs in the garden.
That's excellent. Or should I say, excellent?
There we go. I wish I had a drum set here, Matt.
I'm here all week.
So what about you, Matt? Are you feeling some optimism over there these days with hopes of a new prime minister in the air?
Oh, yes, I am. Over here, the Easter message is pretty compelling for Rishi Sunak, as he's hoping that the local elections, which, as we've spoken about, will be coming up next month, no matter what, they will give him a chance to resurrect himself, which, if it were to happen, would leave the whole Jesus thing as a side note to that particular miracle.
Yeah, pulling that one off might require the help of some other deities kind of working together as a sort of miracle team, right? Like Krishna, Zeus, get over here and help Jesus. He's got a big one.
Whoever misses, yes. Well, the flip side of that, of course, is the local elections might also be Rishi's swan song, or rat, as we spoke about on last week's show, because only Sir Graham Brady of the 1922 committee knows how many letters of no confidence have been handed in asking for a leadership election. But apparently, if the Tories have a particularly bad time of it in their local elections, those 2 letters could go in. Ooh. As I mentioned last week, I'm still not convinced. Again, as we spoke about on last week's show, for the simple reason, I can't see there being another leadership election. I think what would happen if the 2 letters did go in, I think Rishi would just call a general election. So we would be having a summer election if that were to happen.
Wow, I kind of like that idea even better. The sooner the guillotine falls on him, the sooner you can head down to the pub for a pint of Tory tears. Let me ask you this.
If only they would approve that, that would be an instant seller. I love that. Tory tears, pint of Tory tears.
Pubs in the UK, that is a free idea. Please take that and run with it. You'll all be billionaires, and then you can, donate to a political campaign. It'll be great. Matt, my question for you is this: Do the Tories even have a strategy at this point? Because it seems like they just are doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, no?
Well, yes, funny enough, they do. And it's pretty well the opposite of what they've been doing for the last 14 years, which is throwing everything money-wise at the poor in hope that, I guess, that destitution affects your memory. The minimum wage has risen from £10.41 to £11.42 an hour. That's, for those over 21. I mean, yeah, screw you, Trump, right? You should have jumped on that particular gravy train. Let the good times roll. Yeah, there we go. So, the thing is, we are still experiencing insane energy prices and the highest tax rates of any government in the last 70 years. So people might want to hold off on that timeshare at Marbella just for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to show that this is the Tories, they are bringing in legislation to make homelessness illegal.
Sure.
That is, the government is, but they are facing a rebellion from the opposition and from some in their own party. But yes, the headline out of all this is the economy is still very much limping along.
I have to say, the criminalizing homelessness, it's like, what?
Bizarrely, one of the things that could happen if it's homelessness that causes a nuisance. And the nuisance part of it includes things like smelling. Well, if you're homeless, you the option to have a shower isn't so readily available.
Yeah, that's like criminalizing me for having blue eyes. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. That's just what they
Right.
are.
Right, but yes.
The economy, I have an idea. I'm just going to throw this out there. Has anyone asked Liz Truss to unplug the economy and plug it back in again and see if maybe that does something? I don't know.
I think we should ask Liz not to touch anything. Step away from the economy, put your hands where we can see them, Liz. So speaking of Liz Truss, she's trying to push a book. Have you seen this? 10 Years to Save the West, she's called it.
Oh, from what?
A memoir of the only conservative in the room. That's how she sold herself. And that's why everybody plotted against her, obviously. If only everybody had listened to Liz. Anyway.
Didn't we listen to Liz and then the graph with all the money went down?
Yeah. I don't know. She could have called it 10 minutes to save my job. I mean, that would have made more sense, wouldn't it? But anyway, now, interestingly, but while we're talking about the iron-headed lady, there has been chatter that if Rishi goes, she might be brought back in. For the lols, I imagine.
No, Matt, I pray to the comedy gods often. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that they would deliver us that on a gold. But how? What? I'm speechless.
Yes, I mean, it's just one of those ideas that is so far moved from reality. I mean, it's Twilight Zone sort of material, really, isn't it? It goes beyond comedy. Comedy is just Rishi Sunak going out to deliver, and then slipping up on a banana skin. This is a tractor pulling into number 10, dropping off a load of banana skins, and then, Rishi Sunak coming over, slipping over Boris Johnson, landing on top of David Cameron whilst going through Theresa May or something like that. I don't know. But the point being that this goes beyond that to something. This is just odd. That is it. This isn't funny anymore. I guess that's the way to.
This is the death of irony. I mean,
pretty much. And people turn around to me on my channel and they say, "Well, you don't have to do much work now, do you?" And it's just like, you realize how much work I have to do to make this funny. Yeah. Anyway, so as we spoke about, Rishi would like to hold off on calling the general election until later in the year, as the Tories will effectively bottom out. They're currently on 18 points, and you've got to think they're pretty close to doing so. Effectively, effectively, the only people left voting for the Tories are the people that just vote for the Tories no matter what.
Like the Tories' moms. That's it.
You stick a pig in that constituency and then you stick a blue rosette on it, they go, boom, vote for the pig.
Right.
Anyway, the idea being that if they have it later in the year, then some of the attention starts to shift to the Labour Party, the opposition. Now, that's not a bad strategy. It gives a bit more time to shine the light on Labour and their problems. Unfortunately, Labour do seem to be obliging, certainly a little bit. 20 councillors in Lancashire have resigned of what they say is Keir Starmer's, shall we go for inflexibility when it comes to dissenting voices raising objections over things, most notably Gaza.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Mm.
What I'm curious, I don't know much about Keir Starmer, but what is his take on Gaza? Because I'm wondering if he's having a problem that's similar to Biden's, although I think Biden is headed for a major course correction, or at least I hope he is.
Yeah, I think Starmer's likewise. But originally, he did say Israel had a right to defend itself. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But he added to that, he had the right to cut off the water supply. As we know, that's well, it's looking like it's international crime. You know, basically a war crime.
Right.
And effectively life to 2 million people. So
Yeah.
he's now turned around and called for a ceasefire, but it's kind of looking slow and late. So you mentioned Biden, sounds like he's going through the same thing. Which, to be fair, when it comes to Gaza, Israel, etc., British politicians do seem to take their nod from America. I'm not blaming you guys, of course. We should be able to come up with our own foreign policy.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Biden is kind of in the same position. You know, he's always been, you know, pro-Israel. Israel's our friend. We have good relations with them. You know, and in the beginning, when it was like, hey, we've been attacked and our people have been taken hostage, he was like, sure, sure, whatever you need, whatever you need. But two interesting things have happened this week. Number one, there was talk of a huge arms deal, a huge, you know, shipment of arms, you know, being sold to Israel from the US, because as you know, that's what we give everybody as Christmas presents. You know,
You're very good at it, I've got to say. The same
yeah.
thing over and over, but you know what you're doing in that regard.
We're consistent. You just
Yeah.
when you open a gift from the U.S., do so very gingerly, because there is an explosive device inside of there. Just be careful, don't jiggle it too much. So there was talk of that, which already seemed a little bit nuts, given the reports coming out of Gaza of, you know, I won't even go through the list, but just truly awful stuff happening to innocent people that
Yeah.
are not at fault for any of this. Then there was this attack on the World Central Kitchen. And Matt, you've heard about this, I assume, yes?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, so for any of our listeners that haven't heard about this, so Chef Jose Andres runs this organization that anytime there's a disaster anywhere, his people go and they bring food and they feed people. And so they were doing that in Gaza. And so they coordinated with the Israeli military. They said, okay, we are going to bring food into Gaza. We are going to coordinate with you. Please do not shoot us as we bring the food in. They said, yep, no problem, fine. They were in touch the whole time. And from the few details that I've heard about this, it sounds like, you know, and I mean, these are vans that have like the logo all over it, so they can tell that these aren't, you know, bad people, that these are relief workers. The first vehicle gets hit. So whoever was able to escape gets out and goes and runs to the second vehicle, and they're, you know, radioing saying, hey, you hit us, stop doing that. Second vehicle gets hit, and, you know, same thing. And then a third vehicle, and it's, you know, it just doesn't seem like that was accidental. Israel is saying that it's accidental, but it really doesn't seem like it could be, given that they were in connection with the Israeli military the whole time.
Yeah.
So I think that incident, Chef Jose Andres is someone that has the ear of President Biden. And he has spoken with him. And I think doing a big arms sale to Israel right on the heels of that would be completely outrageous. I don't think it's defensible. And so I'm hoping that after this terrible incident, that maybe we will see Biden, you know, he's already using sharper language, but I think hopefully we will see him follow up with actions as well.
Yes, absolutely. And look, we're not being blind over here. Obviously, I imagine there is in America, there are huge demonstrations against this.
Sure.
But we are aware, I think, as a country, that irrespective of what the British government says, it's looking like Israel's going to do its own thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. If it gets to the point it isn't going to listen to America, it's certainly not going to listen to us. But it would just be nice for our politicians to be able to turn around and say, "This is outrageous. We shouldn't be backing this." Because
Right.
you kind of want it. You know, if something were to happen to you, you kind of want people around the world to go, "No, this shouldn't be happening in the UK." You know what I mean? Or
Exactly.
anywhere else in any other country. You kind of want that backup, really.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point of like organizations like NATO, right? Is,
Mm.
will somebody have my back if I need them? And right now there are a lot of people who need someone to have their backs.
Yeah. Yeah, the point I was making was with reference to that and the Labour councillors.
Mhm.
So just going back to that for a moment. Now,
Yeah.
20, as you mentioned, 20 Labour councillors have effectively en masse resigned from Lancashire seat. Now, in the short term, 20 councillors, whilst not small, in the grand old scheme of things, isn't really going to make a huge difference. As we pointed out on last week's show, the Tories lost over 1,000 at last year's local elections.
Right.
But this inflexibility thing, this kind of ruling with an iron fist, as we say, it's kind of been laid at Keir Starmer's door before. Now,
Okay.
Starmer himself will point to the fact that the Tories have won 4 elections on the bounce. And the most important thing is to show unity, a fair point, if you want to get into power.
Sure.
Now, to reiterate, Starmer's problems are, as I say, minute. They're effectively 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen molecule stuck together compared to Sunak's, tsunami, if you like.
Right. Yeah.
But a few months of this with the right-wing press widening the cracks, it could make a difference. I mean, it's not enough to, for Sunak to win an election, but it could make it, obviously that's the point for them to make a bit of a difference, maybe to cling on, as it were. You never know.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe they're just trying to chip away and see if they can, get whatever they can get. But, fair enough. I hope that the Labor Party and the Democrats can hold it together long enough to not trip over themselves before these
Please,
elections
yes.
and make an ass out of themselves. But, we'll see, I guess. So Matt, to wrap things up on a little bit of a lighter note, the woman that has been put in charge of running the RNC, Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, she has a new song out. Have you heard the new song yet?
I haven't heard the old song yet.
Okay, all right. Shall we give it a listen real quick? And I'm
Let's
going to
give it a go.
apologize in to everybody real quick. Just want to apologize to you, Matt, and to the audience for inflicting
This could
this
be the
on
end
you.
of a very special relationship. You realize that, don't you? Here we
I know
go.
I'm on thin
It's
ice
called
right now.
Anything Is Possible, right?
Anything is possible,
I could like this. I mean, anything is possible.
yeah,
Okay, here we go.
Talking to that little girl, riding on the Pegasus, tell her everything's gonna be alright. 'Cause even when it's getting hard in this hurricane life, you still gotta spread your wings and fly.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Wow. Right. Here's the thing. That was worse. When you mentioned it, I thought, okay, this is going to be dreadful. That was worse than I thought it would be, which I didn't think was possible. That is astounding.
anything is possible, Matt. She proved it.
That's extraordinary. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be a fan of it, but it could have rocked my world. There's an astounding amount of auto-tune on that.
Yes. Yes.
I saw this YouTube video about sort of auto-tune and stuff like that, and you have you going, like Cher did in your, that sort of thing. But this is on another level. It's almost like she goes from C to C minor, and that's it. And they've then got to stretch out all that
Yeah.
in order to, try and put this song together. That's flat, and that is properly flat.
Yeah.
Wow.
To me, it sounds like a barn cat, and the lyrics have the emotional depth also of a barn cat. It's just
Tone deaf barn cat.
a tone deaf barn cat. Yes. It's I don't know why she has time to do this. Doesn't she have an entire party to embezzle from? I mean, run. But yeah, she's apparently going to keep putting out music. So we have that to look forward to.
Oh,
Yay.
wow. Oh, wow. I mean, so many questions, like,
Let's have 'em.
obviously she's decided that she wants to be a singer, but now this is Trump's daughter-in-law, so she's married to
Eric Trump. So she
Eric.
has a long history of good judgment. So
Right. So this is I mean, I felt like saying this is Yoko Ono moment, but this isn't that. You know, this is an insult to Yoko Ono to even mention them in the same breath. She may have killed the Beatles, but this woman would have killed. Maybe she killed Trump's chance of, you know, getting elected. Who knows? But it's just, it's as I say, it's staggeringly bad. She's heard that, right?
yes,
And it's only
put it out there in public and said, "Go listen to my new song," and God help us, we did.
wow. As I say, that's amazing. The other thing is, I'm going to put this up for next week.
Okay.
There's a UK sort of conservative,
Mhm.
not conservative, that's the wrong way to put it. He's actually got his own party called the Reclaim Party, but he's this right-wing odd job, for want of a better expression, a chap called Lawrence Fox.
Okay.
Have you heard of Edward Fox, who did the original Day of the Jackal and things like that?
No.
He's a wonderful British actor.
Okay.
But he has a son who's, because his son has basically been born into all this money, but he hasn't appreciated it. And he's gone off the rails, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's everybody else's fault. And he did a live version of a song. And it's just staggeringly bad. So you put me through this week. I'm going to do that to you next week.
Okay. I deserve it. That's fair enough. All right.
Wow.
Well, let's wrap up this episode before I play any more terrible music for you.
But we're still talking.
Yes, I have the number of a good therapist if you need one, so I'll be happy to refer you. I want to thank everyone out there for watching and listening. If you need a little bit more political satire in your life, of course, you can head on over to @TheInterestingTimes UK on YouTube for more from the tea drinking side of the Atlantic. And I will be back with a new episode of our new show on Friday. Thanks for being here, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.